and good morning to everybody, and welcome to our first ever Comics.Sg panel discussion. Today we are very, very fortunate to have with us three comic artists. Isaac is joining remotely. Three comic artists who are going to be debuting some of their new works in the new upcoming Comics.Sg print anthology titled Nice to Meet You. So today, I'm Ling Ying. I'm the publisher at Asiapac Books, and I'm also one of the founders of Comics.Sg, Singapore's online home for comics. And then today, we are very fortunate to have with us Shuxia, illustrator and artist, as well as Mike, student, part-time martial artist, and part-time comic artist, and also Isaac. Isaac is joining remotely and he's currently still pursuing his studies, and he's also a part-time artist. So today's session will go through a short round of introductions, and then after that, we will invite each artist to share about their work in more detail. So without further ado, let's start with, who are we starting with? Okay, let's start with Isaac. Hi, Isaac. Isaac's joining us on Zoom.
Happy to be with all of you virtually. Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac. That was a quick introduction. Now over to our live artists.
Hi everyone, I'm Shuxia and I'm an artist and illustrator. I wasn't an illustrator all the time. Like I just decided I wanted to be one like 1.5, 2 years ago. So right now I'm building my portfolio, figuring out what kind of illustrator I want to be.
Thank you, Shuxia. And last but not least.
Morning, everybody. My name is Mike, and I'm an artist and a graduate from Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts. And during my free time, I like to practice martial arts and also like do manga. Especially, that's why I want to participate in this mentorship hosted by Comics.Sg.
Great, thank you so much. So as mentioned, the artists, they have been working very hard. They just completed a 10-week mentorship program, and this is actually their first time on stage at the Arts House, and this is a beginning of their illustrious career as comic artists. So very, very excited. So now we're going to invite each artist to share more about their work in detail, starting with Isaac, who will be presenting on screen. Yeah. Hello, Isaac.
Hello. All right. So, yeah. So I believe that I have my slides over there. I don't know whether some of you can pull it up for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Your screen. Yeah. Your slides are on, Isaac.
So okay. So I back then when I was still a college student before I entered university, I did learn to we did learn to draw a bit, but at that time I'm not quite good at drawing, and I hate drawings very much because I'm not very good at the anatomy and stuff. But of course, after graduating, I tried to pick up drawings as a way to distress myself. Yeah. So in my past work, I did a bit of a short 4-panel comics, and of course I did try to reach out to some of the comic artists out there who they do conducted lessons out there. So I did reach out to them, and I try to take some lesson with them also. And of course, on the next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So for this slide, it's actually some of the concept art that I did, front and back, and of course. Yeah, I can only say that most of my work are quite narcissistic because it's mostly based on my own ideas, and I always thought that my ideas are the best. So yeah, that's the past me. That's the past me. So yeah, I think I changed for now. Yeah. So of course, on the next slide. Okay, so on the next slide is actually I try to improve the works that I've done in the past. Yeah, I try to implement what I learned throughout the mentorship, as well as along the journey that I come all the way to become a an okay manga artist. Yeah, so those are the works that I made. And of course, one of the pages, well, one of these pages is actually for the anthology. So yeah, so hopefully that you yeah, quite welcoming for everyone. Yeah, and most of my work is based on myth, mostly the myth, folklore stories. Yeah, so yeah, and for the next slides. Yeah, and for the next slide is actually what I call a fan arts or collaboration with other artists actually. Yeah, so for the first image is actually one of the artists slash writers that I collaborate with back then, which she's quite good as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy to collaborate with her. So I drew a fan art of my characters with her characters together, and of course there are some of the yeah I quite like the jellyfish. Because yeah, it's very fun to draw them, and of course some because I'm also into designing monsters, creatures. Yeah, so I also did a bit of them, and also I also continue to did some of the concept art, and also add in some of the facial expressions. So but of course during the mentorship program I did learn a lot in terms of anatomy. How do I arrange the panels and as well as the camera angle themselves. And of course, yeah. Fortunately, my mentor is quite being patient with me, and he gave a lot of tips and tricks as well during our times. Yeah. So I think that's all from me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Yeah, that was a great presentation. I think many of us here are fans of his artwork. It's like manga style, but has its own unique spin on it. Okay, and next up we have Shuxia, who will share about her work.
Hi. Oh, Isaac, I think your monsters are so cute. And also, I'm also not very good at drawing like human anatomy. But first of all, I'd like to thank Ling Ying and Comics.Sg for giving us this opportunity and for inviting us here to talk. Like this is a really big opportunity for us. Okay, so I'm Shusha. I am a illustrator and artist. I haven't always been one. Um, so just a short story about my background. Always had a knack for art, but when I was still young and deciding a vocation to study, I wasn't very sure what an artist is. It was a very abstract idea to me. Like, how do I earn money as an artist? How do I get there? And so I didn't think that I have the grit to forge out my own path. So I decided to, you know, to follow a path that's already laid out in graphic design. I went to study graphic design, and then actually after that, a lot of things that I did were on the periphery of art, like related to art. Like I did community arts because that was also what I studied. I came back and then I facilitated community art workshops on a volunteer basis, and then I did art education research. And then one day, my parents asked me if I want to join them as a dental manager. So I said, okay, I agreed, and I joined a family business. Well, I learned a lot in the family business, like a lot of, it gave me a different perspective on a bunch of stuff, like running a business, like people, HR, sometimes just like thinking about life. So then again, one day I thought, I think I like to make art more than I like to be a manager. And I thought, I think I can contribute more as an artist or contribute more by making art than being a manager. And so thanks to my last job, I picked up art again. And right now I'm like working my way to think about and work out the kind of illustrator I want to be. Okay, so these are some of my past works. There are a couple of similarities in things that are always in my work, and one of them is that they always have a story behind it, because I find that with a story it's easier, it's more inspiring and motivating for me to draw them. And also I like to put in sprinkles of local elements, like if you see here, you see there's a canal and there's a CTE, like it's actually I reference it from an old image from CTE, the one with the heart lamp, or Changi Jati, and also some animals and plants. I just reference it from Singapore because I find that it gives me a sense of identity when I do my art like that. And so I didn't start out making comics, but I started out making art with a story. And on the left side of this slide, you see, this is a series of artworks I did for a group exhibition and the artwork is, the series is called Zombie Diaries. There are 15 paintings, and each painting is a diary entry by a zombie. And the idea is to have 15 perspectives, 15 voices coming together to tell a larger story of what's happening in this world, what happened to the zombies, blah, 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 what's the atmosphere like, how are they feeling. So I started off thinking about, paintings and putting different images together to tell a story in this way. And then after that, I also did, on the right side of the slide, you see it's a series of artwork called Kokoro Friends. And in this series of work, I decided to do something different. It's more of containing a story within an image. So it's kind of like a film poster or a book jacket kind of idea, and I have a title over there. The theme is based on friendship, and you can see that in the background, things are happening, got to look at it to figure out what the story is about. It's all contained in one image. For example, the one on the far top right corner called Partners, it's actually there's some monster in the background attacking the city, and these two friends, the Shiba Inu dog and the crow, they're seeking help and trying to throw their shadows into the sky to make a Batman signal to ask for help, and then it's like partners, they're friends and they're partners. So so that is the second step I did to try and make stories out of images. And so these past works are they're now more comic-like looking, and that's because I happened upon this graphic artist called M Kohan, and I really liked the way he put his comics together. They're very short, but he kind of challenged how the viewer look at comics by making a picture with many panels or having object or image cross panels. And as you can see on the left side, this work I have on the left side of the slide called Journeying Through the Internal Landscape. I try to emulate that. It's also part of a group exhibition where a group of artists were given memoirs of a good group of writers, and we were told to interpret it however we like. And this was actually Emily Cole's memoir about the old house that belonged to her grandma. So I was very inspired by this comic way of laying out images. And then after that, I went to attend zine workshops at the library. And that's where I made this next piece of work. It's called The Troubles of Cat Cat. It's a comic zine. So then I started to put words into my comics, and actually making comics now there. And I thought how can I put words, can I make them vertically? Can I place the letters vertically if it's just a few words will people understand? Like the first one, it says, I like you, but it's vertical. Or can I put the letters or the speeches in the individual box to emphasize the conversation? Or sometimes I think like at the bottom left, bottom right, two pictures on the bottom right, can I let sentences cross page, where on the first page it says, do you think I can? And then the second page it says better. So it's a cross page sentence. And yeah, I find all this very interesting, like this laying out of words and images and experimenting and kind of challenging the way we read visually. Yeah, so these are some of my past works. And then these are my current work, the Collectors Invite. So this work is the work that I did for my mentorship program with NG, and it's also the work that I submitted for the anthology. So just a very quick general overview of the colors in this work. They are mostly dual tone, except for the first page, and then there comes to a point where the character goes into a different plane, and so the colors change to show that the world has changed. So my experience with Angie was very good. She gave me a structure to work in so that I won't get overwhelmed. That's like, usually I'm used to making pictures, like a series of individual pictures, but this is like sequencing panels and sequencing pictures, like so much planning to do. So she gave me this structure, and so I followed it. It was very rigorous because I keep changing my draft. I keep making drafts and many drafts because she wanted to focus on the storytelling part of my work. And I realized that it's also because, like I like to experiment and do all this like different layouts and stuff, but it also made it difficult for the viewers to understand what the story is about sometimes. And also the sequencing and all that. So sometimes I'm thinking like, okay, so what is where do I rein back? Where do I balance this experimenting and understanding, or pushing the limits of how we re-navigate ourselves and read the comic, right? So Angie focuses on that. Sometimes she gave me alternative ideas, and they bring me down rabbit holes, and I get very excited over that. And then I did a whole bunch of other sketches again. And but I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot from her actually. So I really appreciated that because she looked at where I needed help most. Yeah. And okay, maybe I should show you the second slide of the current works. And these are some of the pages that I did. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Shuxia. I think that was very detailed sharing, but it's very exciting to see your evolution, the evolution of your works. Just want to make a quick note. So Shuxia mentioned her mentor, NG Neo, and Isaac had also mentioned his mentor, which is Andy Tong. I wanted to say a big thank you to the comic artists who had been supporting our mentorship program as mentors, including Andy, NG, and also Zaki Rahman. So obviously, these are comic artists that are well known to the comic scene in Singapore, but this time when they were working with us for the mentorship program, they were lending their skills to helping these new artists find their footing as new artists. So wanted to say thank you very much, Andy, NG, Zaki, if you guys are tuning in. Thanks again for being great teachers. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to have Mike share about his work.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike, and I am an artist, but from NAFA. So basically, this is like a short intro of me. Like, I am a artist from NAFA, but however, this project like Trials of the Mind, which is my comic. So I usually want to continue it since when like it happened like 2 years ago. Like because my school project is a final year project, they asked us to pick a social issue. So then I was like, okay, why not I pick mental health? So then this artist was, I was inspired by this artist when I searched online. His name is Toby Allens. He illustrated those monsters, right, based on those mental health. So then I decided like, well, what if I add a twist, right? It's like you can create like some sort of heroes like that. So it's those mentally ill heroes like Mr. Zaki brought up to me like there is a hero called Moon Knight. He has multiple personality disorder, so each personality is different. So then I was like, this is interesting. Even like Diavolo from JoJo, he has a split side which is quite malicious, and the other side of him is like quite harmless. So there are two sides of the coin. So in the next slide, this is like some of my old works. The on your left, which is a concept art for Saber Mac, which is a local Singapore company that makes lightsaber props, which are handcrafted. So then they came up with a new prop or product called the Makaze. So then I just imagine it's like, just a Ronin Sith Lord, a Sith pure blood, just wander off in like Coruscant or Taris in Star Wars. So then, during the Old Republic era, but then they got caught because he has an obvious sign that hey, he's a Sith Lord. So then I just illustrated the idea. It's like a fun idea that I had in mind for Saber Mac. And then on the middle one is that after I played Near Automata, created by Yoko Taro, it came out in 2017. So then I was thinking, what would happen if literally humanity was like extinct or near extinct, right? So then I imagine my own version. It's like humanity tapered with something that should not be touched, and then they're like, it literally backfired on them when they tried to toy with it. So then I was like, okay, they are gonna get killed. They might as well reverse engineered something that they found out. But then as this android woken up, she's like, wait, I have been sleeping for a while. Then on the final one, which is on the right, it was a comic adaptation of J.Y. Young, The Black Tides of Heaven. It was in my school, second year in school. They asked us to like pick a project, like you can create your own version of comic, or you can follow a voiceover to create an animation out of it. So then I decided like, okay, why not I try like create a comic adaptation from a novel. It was written by a local Singaporean. Her name is J.Y. Young. So then I decided to translate words to pictures. So then basically this novel, The Black Tides of Heaven, it sounds more like I know you guys heard of steampunk, but there's an Asian version called silk punk. So then they literally follow the magic system is called slackcraft. Now I was like, oh, I see. So it's basically based on the 5 elements in the Chinese medicinal, or like it also can be applied in martial arts as well. So I decided to illustrate what they have, what they describe, and then I translate the words. So these 2 characters they are venturing, they are twins. They are the main characters. So next slide is like some of my improved works. This is mostly some concepts for my comic. Like as I imagine the world, it's like this world is full of it's like magic, but it's restricted by people. It like wanted to get order. Basically, my friend said it sounds like gun law, but instead of like you owning weapons, but it's more like you're restricted by using magic. Yeah, because of how some of them can be destructive. So basically, on the very left is like the mountain cities. I came up with a concept. It's like my main character lives there. Like, okay, it will be quite interesting. You live somewhere like it's because I always find like in a typical fantasy setting, it's always the town and it's flat area. what will happen if you live inside a mountain or underground city or in another plane of existence? That will spice things up a little bit. So then the top right is where like I imagine like if this is like a major academy for wizards or like for people who wanted to study like like magic and alchemy. So then below is like you're inside the mountain cities, like it's supported by multiple pillars. Just that it is fun to live underneath inside the mountains, but unless it has an earthquake, then that's not going to be fun anymore. So, yep, I would say you can view it on my Wix website, which is I should have included the link right down there. But overall, that I brought this up to my mentor, Mr. Zaki. He would encourage me to continue further. Even my friends and my therapist also would literally encourage me further, like create some more characters based on different mental conditions, like their powers are based from there, how they grow, how they became more of a powerhouse to go against villains or potential common evil. Like that's how it is. Okay, but that's all. Oh,
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Actually, very fascinating concept. Like the imaginativeness is very interesting. Okay, so we are going to do a short. I think we actually have some viewers in the live chat on Facebook. So just want to say hi again to all the friends who are joining us on live stream, even those who are watching the replay. Like we are so glad that you have joined us and you're tuning in. Right now, I think we'll go do a very short round of discussion. But before that, I wanted to share a bit more about the Comics.Sg anthology and the works that Shuxia, Mike, and Isaac introduced, and which are going to be inside of this book. So the anthology submission just closed. This is the first edition of the print anthology that we're doing. It's something that's quite unique. We have gathered, I think, more than 20 new artists, new and existing artists who have submitted their works, 1 to 16 page. Is my mic? Test, test. Sorry, my mic seemed a bit weird. Okay, it's fine now. So this anthology has more than 20 local artists inside with very different art styles, very different kinds of stories. And I would really like to invite everyone to support this first pilot edition of the print anthology. The cover shown here is drawn by Nadra, but it's a mock-up for the final cover, which will be drawn by Dan Wong. So there's going to be a lot of interesting art in this book, and we hope that everyone can help to support these young artists, support these new artists by purchasing this book and pre-ordering via the link shown on the slide. So that's a very quick advertisement. Now let's move on to. Okay, test. No, this one, this is the new mic. The new mic isn't working. Okay, I just use the old mic. Okay, so let's go into a quick discussion. I wanted to ask, thank you so much to the mentees here for sharing about your artwork, sharing about your experience with the mentorship program. I wanted to ask, because it's a very rare opportunity to work so closely with a senior artist on your work. So can I ask each of you what was the most, I guess, like significant takeaway from the overall mentorship experience? Isaac, I'm not sure if you're there, but I think you'll go last. Okay, we'll start with Shuxia and Mike. Okay, I think maybe Mike can go first because he was last earlier. So what's the most significant learning from the 10-week mentorship program with Zaki?
most likely is like trying to make the comic more like exciting. So then I was like thinking like since I want to make my character, he was inside his mind, like there is something wrong with him. So he was in a world like everybody views like, if you are abnormal, then you're like dead or like shunned away. So when I go and see the comic, so Mr. Zaki guided me to make it more like he told me like, all right, you must step in the shoes of the audience or the viewers so that they can like understand your work easily, or like basically try to view inside the audience eyes instead of yours. And he also like teach me there are certain ways to make the comic more exciting and more like, instead of like one angles, he can ask me to make it more dynamic, which I would love to. Then there's also like you can make into a spreadsheet, or like how Shuxia's work is like you can expand the panels can be expanded. It's meant to be broken if you know what you're doing. So then like I also learned the terms like, since animation has pilots, which is a trial run, even the anime from Japan call it OVAs, which is original video animation. It's basically a pilot for them. But what about for comics? I just asked my mentor, is there a term for pilot instead of like comic pilots? But then I learned that term is called ash cans.
Yeah.
The fun fact is that you can sell it. Yeah, it was a trend since I think it's around 1930s. You can literally sell your ash can. I think around like $2 or $5, around that price. I'm not very sure about that. This is like really new towards me. So basically, I learned like because I was creating a comic like based on the mental health, right? So I did ask my mentor, do you teach like autistic people before? He said yes, even though I did mention to him I am part of the spectrum as well, even though you can't tell. So yeah, that's why I decided to pick up this comic. Like I felt I want to create a champion for the autistic people out there, like aside from me and my friends who are also autistic. Yep. So that's why I felt like I want to create something that relates to us as well. But not only for autistic people, like those people like who are depressive, bipolar, or schizophrenic. Like I know how you all feel, even though I do not have the condition, but the challenges are there for them to face every day.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. So your main takeaway with Zaki was how to make the pages more dynamic. I think that's great. I mean, that's something that's very important for new artists, to just stretch your muscles and your repertoire with your work. Great. And then Shuxia.
For me, well, the muscle that was stretched was creative storytelling. Like really, when during our sessions, Angie told me that I have to put in more context into the story, like who is this character, what is his background, and where is he from, what is his backstory, and all that. And I've not thought of all this before, right? My original sketch was only like 20% of my original sketch went into the final art. So there was a lot of like fleshing out of the characters of the story, and I realized that I really need to go and read up on how to tell a story, techniques of writing a story, or things like that. So that was one of the things that I learned, that this is another part, that writing comics is not just drawing, it's actually like writing the story. So yeah, that's one of the biggest takeaway I had.
Awesome. Thank you, Shuxia. Yeah, very important. I think a lot of people think comic artists mainly draw, but actually the reality is that comic artists need to be real storytellers also. And the writing part of things is actually really, really important. Okay, Isaac, we'd like to ask you the same question. So what is the main takeaway from your 10 weeks of mentoring with Andy Tong?
Okay, so first of all, I learned that Andy he taught me that some of my works, that although they already reached quite a minimum standard, but it actually can be pushed even further. Yeah. Well, of course, he also encouraged me to explore more in terms of art styles and some of the expressions, the movement themselves. Because since he already know that I did study a bit of animations there back then. So yeah, so these kind of things should be implemented in my panels, in the characters themselves. And of course, in terms of designs, he encouraged me to do more sketches, real life sketches, stuff like that. Because I'm sure that most of the reference they are not your original ideas. They are mostly come from the combination of other ideas together. And finally, what he told me was, of course, is about storytelling himself. Some of the story, although it's just like myth and folklore, but somehow we can also make it a bit more realistic, a bit more believable to the audience themselves. Which is also still a journey that I'm trying to go through to make a better versions. Yeah, but of course, hopefully after the anthology, I will try to like make even better art and stories, so to be produced in the future. So hopefully I can do it by then.
Okay, awesome, Isaac. Thank you so much. I think, honestly, like for myself, we saw the artist applications at the beginning, and we then saw their finished works at the end of the mentorship program. And I'm very proud of you guys. I feel like the improvement is definitely there. In fact, I know that you guys all struggled to finish the works and also to complete it to your desired standards. Because honestly, like 10 weeks, it's not a lot of time at all, really. So yeah, really, really proud of the works that you guys created. Full color, okay, except for I think Isaac was black and white, but we saw all the effort that you guys put in. So thank you so much for being a part of this year's mentorship program. I think we are running very short on time because we started late. So unfortunately, we will have to close the session here. Would just like to invite everyone to just share some last words. You can give a shout out to your mom and dad if that's what you want to. So let's just say goodbye to the audience together. Yeah. Let's just go Shuxia, Mike, and then Isaac.
Okay, thank you everyone. And well, I guess a shout out would be to people who have supported me all this time. Really, because it's really like I'm not very young anymore. So
No lah, forever young. Age is just a number.
that's true too. But actually, I think age can be on your side if you have something you want to do, and then if you think it's the time, like I did. But I know for many other people, they have so many things to think about. But for me, I can just go ahead and do what I wanted to do because I have people around me who support me. Yeah, so thank you to all of them, my family and partner, and also to like people here who came and listened to us. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for coming for this live stream, and those who are right over here, which is my uncle and my cousin in the audience seat right here. So, and also to my family members that supported me, even my friends who are also on the spectrum, like my friend on online. His name was Zikri, which is my best friend. Even other buddies like also on the spectrum, like online. There's also like my mentor who like guided me through and gave me some examples like Moon Knight and even more like other type of things like the X-Men, because he said that my work sounds similar to that, like the X-Men is being hunted down by those government agents. Like if you're a mutant, you'll be hunted down immediately. It's like you're born with a certain condition that are gifted with powers, then you're being hunted down by the Inquisitions. That's what my comic concept is. My friends also told me that. So then I was like, yeah, I would like to give a big shout out to them for like encourage me further to continue this type of thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks. And then last but not least, Isaac. Isaac, any last words for our audience here today?
Really thanks for coming. Yeah, and also thanks for giving me the opportunity to attend. Yeah, of course, shout out to other artists that I collaborate with before, Nabila, and of course, final words. Hey, mom, I'm live.
Okay, thank you so much, Isaac. And yeah, thanks to all our audience for joining us today. To find out more about Comics.Sg, please follow us on Instagram or join our Discord. You know, we have over 100 members and there's a lively chat every day. So let's keep in touch on Discord. Thank you so much for coming down and have a great day. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.